Okay, so get this. We're diving into the Shroud of Turin.
Ah, the Shroud of Turin. Always a good one. What have we got this time? Another theory about the image.
It's always something, right?
Yeah.
But this time, it's not about how the image got there, but how old the cloth itself might be.
Okay, you've got my attention. We all know about the carbon dating that put it in the Middle Ages, but what's popping up now?
So there's this new research, and it's causing quite a stir. They're using a totally different dating method.
Different how? Don't tell me we're still arguing about threads and pollen.
No, no, this is way more high-tech. We're talking X-rays and something called cellulose degradation.
Cellulose, like, plants, right. What's that got to do with an ancient linen cloth?
Well, linen comes from flax, a plant. And apparently you can analyze how the cellulose in those fibers breaks down over time.
Hold on, are they saying they can tell how old the shroud is just by looking at how messed up the plant fibers are?
That's the gist, yeah. It's like those microscopic rings in a tree trunk. They tell you the tree's age.
Huh. Fascinating. So, what's the verdict? Is it a medieval fake or?
Get this, the researchers are saying it could be around 2,000 years old,
Mm.
right around the time of.
Whoa. Okay, now that's huge if it's true, but does it definitively prove anything?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It definitely throws a wrench into what we thought we knew.
For sure. It makes you think, doesn't it? Even if the shroud is that old, what does it really tell us?
Exactly. It's a good reminder that science can only take us so far. Then it's up to faith, interpretation, all those big questions. So even with this potential bombshell about the shroud's age, it seems like there's still this big question about faith versus science.
You bet. And the article points out something interesting. Just because you can scientifically date an object, like the shroud, doesn't automatically prove the beliefs associated with it.
That makes sense. You
Yeah.
can say, hey, this piece of cloth I is really old, but that doesn't mean you've scientifically proven it covered Jesus, right?
Right. Science can provide data, but the interpretation of that data, especially when it comes to matters of belief, is often where faith comes in. The article uses a great analogy. Dating the shroud is like figuring out how old a paintbrush is. It doesn't tell us anything about the painting itself, the artist's intentions, or the emotions it evokes.
Wow, that's a perfect analogy. So if science is the paintbrush analysis, then faith is delving into the meaning and impact of the artwork itself.
You could say that. Faith tackles the why behind the what, offering a framework for understanding things that science might not be able to fully explain.
Okay, so how does this all connect back to the person whose story is highlighted in the article, the one who found solace in Christianity?
Their story brings a human element to this complex discussion.
Hmm.
This person talks about grappling with a feeling of emptiness, a lack of meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
And they found that Christianity provided answers and a sense of purpose that they were looking for.
Exactly. For them, Christianity's teachings weren't just abstract ideas, but a source of comfort, guidance, and a sense of belonging in a world that felt increasingly disconnected.
It's interesting, though, because they also seem to contrast this positive experience with what they see as a decline in values in modern society.
Mhm.
Almost like they see a disconnect between the ideals they found in Christianity and how people actually behave.
That's a really astute observation, and it's something the article grapples with directly. The speaker seems to be highlighting a perceived tension between the emphasis on things like love, compassion, and selflessness within their faith, and what they perceive as a more self-centered, materialistic focus in the broader culture.
So it's not just about one person finding faith, but about broader questions of how we as a society define and live by our values, whether they're rooted in religion or not.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that the article goes on to argue that even those who don't identify as Christian still benefit from the influence of Christian values.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do they mean by that? How do these values supposedly trickle down even to those who aren't religious?
Well, they argue that many values now considered universal, like the inherent dignity of every human being, have roots in Christian teachings.
So much to unpack there. We're talking about concepts like human rights, dignity, compassion, these huge ideas that shape how we function as a society. Are they saying these wouldn't exist without Christianity?
That's where it gets nuanced. It's not about claiming sole credit, but recognizing the historical influence. Think of it like this ideas have a sort of genealogy, they evolve over time. Many of the values we cherish today have been shaped and reshaped by various cultures and philosophies.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
It's not about who did it first, but recognizing how deeply interwoven these concepts are with our history. But it's one thing to say it's historical influence, it's another to see it reflected in people's views today, right?
Exactly. And what's fascinating is the article brings up examples that really make you think. Like Richard Dawkins, a pretty famous atheist who has, surprisingly, acknowledged the positive influence of certain Christian values on society.
Wait, really?
Hmm.
That age... Surprising. You wouldn't necessarily connect atheism with praising Christian values.
Hmm.
What's the article say about why he'd even say that?
It gets to the heart of what we're discussing, the power of certain ethical principles to resonate even across vastly different belief systems. The article suggests that figures like Dawkins, while critical of organized religion, might still recognize the enduring wisdom in certain moral teachings, like those emphasizing compassion or forgiveness.
So it's like those values have a life of their own, separate from the religious context they came from.
Precisely. And that brings us back to the big question the article poses at the very end. If even those who don't subscribe to the belief system see something valuable there, does it point to a deeper truth?
It's like, if these ideas about how we treat each other, kindness, empathy, seeing the inherent worth in every person, if those feel universally good, does it mean there's something inherently true about them, regardless of where they originated?
That's the thought-provoking idea the article leaves us with. It's suggesting that maybe these values we hold dear aren't just arbitrary rules or social constructs, but something more fundamental, something woven into the very fabric of existence even.
Wow, that sends chills down my spine. It makes you think about our place in the universe in a whole new light. If those values are somehow inherently true, does that imply there's a deeper meaning to it all, a purpose beyond what we can see and touch?
And that, my friend, is the million-dollar question. It's something we may never have a definitive answer to, but pondering it, grappling with those big questions is what makes this whole exploration so fascinating.
Absolutely. It's like that old saying, the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. This whole deep dive into the Shroud of Turin has been like that. We've gone from analyzing ancient fibers to contemplating the very nature of good and evil, the interplay of science and faith, and the possibility of something bigger than ourselves.
And isn't that the beauty of it all? It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to uncover, more to question, and more to discover.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to our listener out there, as you continue your own journey, we leave you with this, what resonates with you most from our deep dive today. Do you see the world a little differently now? Let us know your thoughts, and until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries that surround us.